This red tag is labeled the Mancini family after Chucky's creators of Mancini. The white tag says Colavecchia family, named after Daniel and John Colavecchia, who worked in the camera. The green tag says the Corvida family. James and Steve Corvida also worked in camera. There's also a couple spot Easter egg in episode 1. When Lexi is running into her medicine cabinet, one of the bottles is described by Dr. Douglas Gates, which is a slightly altered version of the Gabriella Douglas he first assisted Marcia. There's not another true reference Easter egg until episode 7, when Bryce brings out the Exorcism for Dummies book, which is a play on the Voodoo for Dummies book introducing Exorcism for Dummies is written by Richard Darwin, a reference to Rick Darwin, the property master on both seasons 1 and 2. It turns out that Tiffany played on the Voodoo for Dummies. We see it again in episode 8. It's written by Don Mancini, and that's how Lawrence While not technically a true reference, that is a metaphor moment when Jake comments that Father Bryce reminds him of his dad. That's because Mr. Wheeler, his brother Logan, and Father Bryce were all played by the same actor in several times. His first victim would be Winnie, other than Tiffany, and all those Chuckies, and Gary. His sister Elizabeth, who has a heart attack just upon seeing him.
Looking at me is scary enough to give you a heart attack?
You shouldn't be that surprised, because this has happened before. It's a reference to the way that Colonel Cochran killed in Child's Play 3, and it's another reason that I thought Season 2 was going to be a movie. But, as you know, what is the direction of Seed of Chucky, carrying on its tradition of bombarding us with needless pop culture references? I'm going to go through them, but if you're not interested in that, feel free to skip to the next chapter. When Chucky holds them hostage at the beginning, he mocks their friendship for not spending more time together, and this is Devin's rebuttal.
Busy. Well, now you're all gonna get busy dying.
That might be a reference to the Shawshank Redemption.
As it comes down, let's enjoy it. Busy living.
I'm sure you didn't miss the Scooby-Doo reference.
And I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids.
After the truck crash, the head of the female doll somehow ends up in Tiffany's bed. A parody of the horse head scene from The Godfather. Later that day, Tiffany can be seen watching Liar Liar when Mika makes this comment.
I know you all.
Jennifer Tilly isn't on The Simpsons, so what's the deal with this? Luckily, I happen to know a Simpsons expert who can explain it much better than I can. Here's The Simpsons statement.
Hey guys, now I want to start off by saying although Jennifer Tilly wasn't a regular cast member of The Simpsons, she was previously married to the late Simpsons co-creator Sam Simon. And when it came to their divorce in 1993, a percentage of Sam's payments from Fox were awarded to her. Then she later appeared as herself in season 24 from A.B. God, where she even references Ted Simpson's money.
Every expert on poker, watch Jennifer Tilly's DVD. Start with your Simpsons. Use them as broadly and take them for everything they cost. Now, immediately set it ready. Fine.
And there you have it, folks. That is your random Simpsons fact of the day. Thanks so much for having me on site.
Thank you, Lydia. I'll put a link to her channel in the description. Moving along, when the kids try to reprogram Chucky, they clip his eyes open using what appears to be hair clips as a parody of the brainwashing scheme in The Clockwork Orange, where Alex is conditioned to feel nausea whenever he's exposed to violence, which is exactly what happens to Chucky. Instead of showing him war footage, they show him horror movies, like The Thing and Psycho 2. In episode 4, the twins invite some guests over to celebrate their birthday behind Tiffany's back.
We figured you wouldn't want people over giving you Norma Desmond vibes, so maybe.
Norma Desmond is the forgotten silent movie star in the 1950 noir film Sunset Boulevard, who, similar to Tiffany, never leaves her mansion and revels in the past, watching her own movies. In Tiffany's case, they aren't actually her movies, but you get the point. Both characters are delusional and insane. Not long after, Tiffany apologizes to her guests for being a recluse over the last year and says that she's entering her Garbeau era. This is a reference to another silent film star, Greta Garbo, who is known for her melancholic role. So essentially nothing like Tiffany or Jennifer Tilly, which makes it kind of funny if you know who Greta Garbo is. Later on, when Buck Chucky is discovered by Sister Ruth, who mistakes him for a god, he makes more of a 90s reference. I like your smile. Sister Act is a comedy franchise starring Whoopi Goldberg. Never mind the fact that Chucky was dead in 1992 when the first one came out, dead in 1993 when the second one came out, and was literally just a dismembered arm in 2006 when the Broadway musical came out. The creators of the show clearly care a lot more about referencing their favorite IPs than having their own show make any logical sense. It gets really bad shortly after. When I first saw the bald Chucky known as the Colonel, I thought it had something to do with the end of Child's Play 2 or the beginning of Child's Play 3, where we see the factory that the good guys are made of, and some of them have now received areas. It wasn't until this very strange scene that I ended up looking into the character and discovered who he's really supposed to be. And I have a lot to say.
nothing too funny. So I used Google and Shanghai. Turns out this thing is actually called a multi-orbit. Is it good house thing? Slightly hungry, but still not. Never been a plant person, but a multi-plant? I'm feeling just fine.
Colonel Chucky is a reference to an iconic character from the 1979 war movie known as Apocalypse Now. His name is Colonel Walter Kirk, and he's a rogue army officer who went insane and started commanding his own troops in Cambodia. Kind of like how the Colonel in Chucky sets up his own camp in the wilderness and commands his own unit of good guys. After Andy gets the better of him in episode 6, the Colonel repeatedly says the horror before passing away. A clear takeoff of Colonel Kurtz's final moments in Apocalypse Now. We're shown flashbacks of the Vietnam War. Charles Lee Ray was never in the Vietnam War. It began before he was born and ended when he was 16. In my opinion, the mere act of referencing another property doesn't make it funny. If you're doing it in a way that adds entertainment value, then that's one thing. But just putting a random war flashback that doesn't even fit, just because Francis Ford Coppola did it, isn't all that entertaining. Let's look at The Simpsons again as an example. The Simpsons love a good parody episode. Every year they do Treehouse of Horror. But part of the fun of watching Treehouse of Horror is learning how the established characters of Springfield will change a horror story that we already know. In the Treehouse of Horror 3 segment, Con Without Pity, Homer buys his son a talking trusty doll for his birthday. It's a parody of Child's Play, but they don't just run through the plot of the movie, they use the talking murder doll concept in a way that fits the style and humor that we love in The Simpsons.
In this object, what beware it carries a terrible curse.
That's bad.
But it comes from a great program.
That's good.
The program is also cursed.
That's bad.
But you get your choice of topping.
That's good.
The toppings contain potassium mental. That's bad.
Should I go now?
You don't have to have seen Child's Play to appreciate Con Without Pity. But if you haven't seen Apocalypse Now, good luck understanding what the hell that Colonel Kurtz reference was. Also, this scene is a total disaster. Roll.
Somebody forgive me that. Remember Alamo.
What is going on here? Why is Lexi asking who's Con? It almost feels like she's responding to a line that was cut from the show. Has the editing really gotten that bad? Here's my last thing on this topic. When your media references are just references for the sake of references, you start to lose clarity of if they even are references. For example, take Tiffany's line towards Caroline. Like, was that supposed to be a Jurassic Park reference? Or was she just calling Caroline clever? You can't even tell anymore. Anyways, rant over, let's get back to where we were. Episode 2. I mentioned that Tiffany was watching Jennifer Choi's performance in Liar Liar, and in that same episode, Father Bryce makes Jake read a biblical passage about lies.
Why is this according to his own history? He's a liar. Father lies.
It's very fitting that lies are such a big focus on this episode, because Chucky's lies have had a major impact. When he acts as if he's been changed by the Clockwork Orange treatments, the characters drop their guard around him, allowing him to make one of the most devastating kills of the series. Moving on to episode 3, we meet Father O'Malley, who is clearly tired of Nadine coming in every week to do a confession with him. The character is a tribute to Reverend William O'Malley, who is known for his portrayal of Father Dyer in The Exorcist, where he also served as a technical advisor. Of all the films that Chucky Season 2 imitates, the strongest influence, other than Scream, is probably The Exorcist. But I'll come back to that later in this video when I talk about the ending. During stage 1 of the brainwashing scene, one of the disturbing clips that they show Chucky is someone falling out of a window onto a pond. It's the exact same as the first kill we ever saw Chucky make, and it's Maggie in the original movie. Then, during stage 2, he sees Nadine setting up the phone and says this. This is the exact line said by Andy shortly after meeting Chucky in the original. In his dazed state, this was probably triggered by seeing Nadine, who looks similar to and has the same hairstyle as Aunt Maggie. It's also foreshadowing because he eventually kills Nadine the same way he killed Aunt Maggie, by throwing her out of the window. She ends up landing in a statue of the Virgin Mary, causing the image to resemble Michelangelo's sculpture, Pieta, which depicts Jesus dying in the arms of Mary. I feel like this may be connected to Nadine returning as an angel, but I don't really know anything about the Catholic floor. There's also a shot while Nadine is doing her Hail Marys where she pats a smaller statue on the head. Maybe a small clue that she'll be landing on the statue's head. After the brainwashing is complete, Lexi is tasked with keeping an eye on Chucky, and he asks her a variety of annoying questions, one of which is, do you have a cat? This is a callback to season 1, episode 1, where Chucky's first victim is Jake's cat. We also see him take out a cat who needs to be nice to read. Episode 4 is a weird one. It's called Death on Denial, a play on Death on Denial, a 1978 mystery film, which is fitting because this episode is all about a murder mystery horror. There's a line that caught my attention where Glenda mentions having spoken to Tiffany/Jennifer's accountant, Stan. Stan was the name of Jennifer's limo driver / secret lover in C. He appeared to have died at the end of that movie, but then again, so did Jennifer Tilly. However, when we meet Jennifer Tilly, she appears to be Tiffany's accountant. I'm not really sure what's going on here, or if we'll ever find out. Before the guests arrive, the three can be seen eating Swedish meatballs, Tiffany's specialty, and Chucky's supposed favorite food. Speaking of favorite foods, when the real Jennifer Tilly does appear, she's got one thing on her mind: rolls.
I'm starving.
Funny enough, chocolate is what got her into this mess in the first place. She only encountered Tiffany Valentine because she snuck into a movie studio to secretly snack on chocolate. I mean, you probably have a lot of questions about this party that remain unanswered. Primarily, why is Glenda's birthday being celebrated in November when we already know that they were born in March 2004? I swear, they're just trying to make the timeline difficult for me. What are these seemingly random friends? What's their significance? And why does this butler look so familiar? I have all of the answers that Liz Morgan did. The twins wanted a surprise. They invited some of their mother's friends to the house without her knowing to surprise them. This already doesn't make sense, but it may have been a strategy to help distract her, making it easier for Glenn and Glenda to sneak out and meet her. So who are these people? Auntie Gina is introduced first. She isn't anyone's real aunt. I think she's more of an honorary aunt for the twins, kind of like how Aunt Maggie wasn't Andy's real aunt. She's just a friend of his mother. Her full name is Gina Gershon, and she co-starred with Jennifer Tilly in the 1996 thriller Bound, where the two shared a lesbian relationship, which we find out is real in the show. In fact, when Gina sneaks up on her in the bedroom, you can see the Bound poster. Similarly, Uncle Hank is not Glenn Glenda's real uncle. He's Joe Pantaleon, another actor friend who is also in Bound, where he plays Jennifer Tilly's boyfriend, Caesar. Apparently, he too has an ongoing relationship with her, and we literally see him get caught with his hands up. Then there's Sutton Stratt. I guess Jennifer and Sutton are just friends in real life. The final guest is Meg Tilly, the real-life sister of Jennifer Tilly. When I first heard she was going to be cast for season C, I assumed she was going to be playing Tiffany's sister, who was referenced in Seed, and as far as we know, is still alive. But I was wrong. She's just playing herself. Ironically, Meg actually is Glenn and Glenda's aunt, because the twins